Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the Gobbos today, going to be taking on the High Elves, so let's get straight to it. You can see here I've got a huge force of all Vanguard Gobbos. We are Vanguard deployed up on top of the hill, ready to rush down into the High Elf army here. So let's take a look at what we've got. Night Goblin Fanatics up front. We've also got some Warlords boys here, and the 8th Peak Loonies on the other side. 4 units of Nasty Skulkers. Keep in mind there are rank 6 on all the applicable units in the front line here, on the Night Gobbos and the Nasty Skulkers. Also got some Squig Hoppers out to the flanks. Moon Howlers on this side. We've also got a shooting squad over here, Mangy Marauders and Death Screepas. Some more Squig Hoppers, including the Durkit Squigs. And of course, the Vanguard deploy option, currently the only Vanguard deploy option for the game. I really keep hoping Skarsnik gets Vanguard deployment. I think that would make him a lot better. But the Gobbo Great Shaman does have Vanguard on his wolf here. You can see him popping off that wall right away. We're going to be rushing straight down into the High Elves here. Fireborn, another unit of Dragon Princes, 2 Spearmen, 4 White Lions through the front line, including the Puremain Company, some Archers, and the Scions of Mathlon defending the rear. He's also got Alariel the Radiant. Looks like she's on foot, interestingly enough. Yeah, let's go ahead and just watch as this unfolds here. And this all-Gobbo Vanguard doesn't work great in a lot of matchups, but it does work pretty well in certain matchups, especially if the terrain favors you, where you can get a massive uphill advantage like this by doing so. You can see the Gobbos are going to be charging downhill. We are going to release some Fanatics across the line here, I believe, in just a moment, because there are some pretty juicy blobs. Yep, there they go. You can see the Skulkers charging into the side there. These Fanatics are definitely just going to cut through the ranks, do a lot of damage there. Hilariel dropping that Earthblood to try and counter, but man, those Fanatics did some solid damage. The Durkit Squigs actually came in, and with the WA up, they did some decent damage to the Fireborn. We did drop a smoke bomb there, and also brought in the Skulkers, who are going to get some work done as well. Then, of course, the firing squad shooting in from the side there. Looks like Alariel using the Star of Avalorn there on the White Lions. Probably would have been better to use it on the Dragon Princes there, but they should be able to clean up that side. In the meanwhile, though, the Durkit, or not the Durkit Squigs, Durkit Squigs are gone, but the regular Squigs and the Moon Howlers going to be just pushing through very aggressively on this back line, taking out all the archers here. Looks like a Shield of Thorns, not really sure the point of that there, but maybe a bit of a misclick, but anyway. Yeah, the Puremain Company still fighting here, it looks like. Yes, the other White Lions pushing uphill. They did manage to break the Night Goblin Fanatics in the front line, but now being isolated, we will be able to kind of pull these archers in different directions and then fire in on them. I'm going to use the Gobbo Great Shaman to tie them down, but at this point my opponent's force is collapsing pretty heavily. You can see the Dragon Princes and Fireborn over here just getting worn down by hordes and hordes of Gobbos. The fact that these Mangy Marauders with their armor-piercing missiles are still shooting in, they're doing a lot of damage there. My opponent does admit defeat, so that one was pretty quick. We're going to take a look at another replay using a similar build against the Empire. I just wanted to quickly make some comments here in terms of the post-game. Like I said, I definitely think this kind of a build, this full-on Gobbo Vanguard, can work pretty well. The Skulkers give you some armor-piercing. Fanatics, that is, can clean up big blobs. The Durkit Squigs on the charge with the WA can even do well against heavy cavalry, although they can't really sustain that very well. But, you know, you can always support with missiles like I was able to do there, and even then, you know, we traded very cost-effectively with those Fireborn and Dragon Princes. Of course, the Skulkers with their smoke bomb help with that. You can stack that with the poison or the Gorkle Fix-It from the Lord of the Little Wa to really debuff the speed of some of these cavalry units very aggressively so that you can get on them, chase them down with some of your armor-piercing units. But yeah, fun stuff for the High Elves. I think this works pretty well against them because you have so many unit models, and that's one of the biggest weaknesses of the High Elves, is just getting swarmed, because the units are relatively expensive. They really can't bring that many models to the table. You know, it's hard to even field a large stack of High Elf troops without just completely cheaping out, and the ranked up Gobbos, in particular the Night Goblins, will do very well against things like High Elf Spearmen. So, you know, they're relatively safe pick in that aspect. So I do like this this build quite a bit in this particular matchup. And, of course, the terrain there definitely favored that one. So let's try it out against the Empire. So my opponent here bringing a very fun fire-focused build for the Empire. And of course, I'm taking pretty much the exact same build for the Greenskins. So we'll just focus on the Empire player's build. He's got Boris Todbringer up in the air, a fire wizard, of course. He's also got a warrior priest with the no flaming banner, actually, which looks like he's got his 2 support buffs. Well, 2 of the support buffs: Hammer of Sigmar, Shield of Faith, 2 Knights of the Blazing Sun. He's also got front line of swordsmen, a few great swords, and I believe that's pretty much it. Relatively straightforward. Looks like some Outriders with grenade launchers as well, which is actually not a terrible pick against the Greenskins. They can do some pretty good damage against low armor infantry. So yeah, you can see we're going to kick off straight away. And the thing about the Empire, as opposed to the High Elves, is they have a lot more unit models because their units are typically generally cheaper. You know, they can just bring a lot more models to the table. I also think that my opponent's deployment is much better in this one. This is a different player, obviously, but he's got a nice staggered deployment here, and he's going to be looking for weak spots. So I do leave a bit of a gap here in the center. This was a bit of a mistake. I meant to keep these nasty skulkers in over on this side, but this is going to leave a bit of a gap there for those Knights of the Blazing Sun to exploit. That being said, Boris did come down. He's going to terrify away those nasty skulkers, but unfortunately my Squig Hopper is also not being microed as well on this one over on the side there, getting caught up on Knights of the Blazing Sun and more. A very nice overcast Burning Head. Did roast out those spearmen, but that's a well worth trade to get those Warlord's boys there. Very good stuff. And yeah, you can see the Knights of Blazing Sun collapsing there, despite the Gork will fix it, and the poison debuffing their speed significantly. We are going to be able to get some of the Goblins away, but that being said, Boris is taking a ton of damage here. We're tying him down with the Moon Howlers and just letting the firing squad here, the Mangy Marauders in particular, of course, with their armor piercing, going to do very well. Then the Nasty Skulkers come in, and again, the poison and the smoke bomb here are going to bring Boris down to only 9 speed, so there's no way he's getting away from that one right there. And yeah, he's going to start to take a lot of damage here. Squig Hoppers also coming in here, the Durkit Squigs, in fact, who Squig Hoppers are immune to psychology, so although they're not anti-large, they're more anti-infantry. Using them to tie down a terror-causing unit like Boris on this Griffin here can be pretty decent, and with Boris off the field, we may be able to get some work done here. There still is 1 unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun that's just cleaning up my backline, and there's little to nothing I can do about it at the moment. These grenade launchers are actually being very effective firing into this blob, getting a lot of kills on these nasty skulkers and on the Squig Hoppers that are also in that pocket there. So definitely still a back and forth. Boris routed off, but fortunately, I wasn't able to get units underneath him fast enough. My idea was to get these Durkit Squigs, not the Durkit Squigs, just the regular Squig Hoppers underneath him to make sure he stayed routed, but unfortunately I wasn't quite on top of it at the right moment, and Boris coming back from rout is going to stabilize the leadership of the Empire, whereas the Goblins are starting to take some serious damage. This left flank, which was initially going pretty well in my favor, is starting to collapse a little bit, and Boris diving back down is going to get some work done here. We're going to try and tie him down once again with the Nasty Skulkers and these Squig Hoppers here. And we do get some damage done to Boris. It looks like he may rout off here, but due to the friendly infantry around, he is actually probably going to be able to escape through the side there. Potentially, if Boris actually falls here, we could be able to bring things back, but unfortunately I don't get a smoke bomb off at the right time to slow Boris down enough. If I had got a smoke bomb off right there, Boris would not have been able to get away, but fortunately he did get away, and at this point the leadership of the Gobos is starting to suffer. This kind of attritional game is really not working well for them, and my opponent's done a great job microing these Outriders with grenade launchers. It's one of the few times I've actually seen them be pretty effective. Granted, they haven't got XP chevrons, but you know, they have been able to clean up a lot of units, and this unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun as well, up to 176 kills. They get a smoke bomb there, but the smoke bomb doesn't actually connect due to the center of mass being a little bit skiwampus there. But yeah, man, those Knights of the Blazing Sun just absolutely cleaning shop here, and that is the biggest threat you're going to face doing this full Vanguard Gobbo thing is shock units, both shock cavalry and, you know, shock type monsters like Shaggoths, you know, Necrosphinxes, things like that that cause terror and also do a lot of shock damage and are pretty fast. Those are going to be your biggest issues to deal with as the Greenskins. at least when you're doing this full Gobbo Vanguard thing, just because you don't have any anti-large units that can Vanguard, and you do have, missile units which can focus in an anti-large role, but they don't have the best armor-piercing values, and you do have Morgrim's Mangy Marauders, and of course the Rusty Airs do Sunder Armor, but unfortunately they got cleaned up very early on in the battle here, and Boris not getting finished off there when I had the opportunity to definitely was the kicker at the end of the day. So yeah, if we'd been able to drag this out and stabilize some Gobbo leadership, we may have been able to drag down the rest of the Empire forces here. If you look on paper, this Knights of the Blazing Sun and Boris is really the only thing they have left, but the leadership of the Gobbos is just suffering so badly now. Gobbo Great Shaman unfortunately did get caught up on some spears at one point, so yeah, his leadership's pretty low. And just in general, the Goblins are suffering pretty badly. And that Knights of the Blazing Sun, I don't know. I might not be able to take them out with what I have left. But anyway, at this point, army losses are getting much, much closer. We do manage to dodge that fireball. But at this point, it's just a matter of getting cleaned up by Boris here. And once army losses kicks in, it's just the AP Cloonies. I'm going to go ahead and admit defeat there. So well played to my opponent. Definitely a decent Empire build. The Knights of the Blazing Sun, if I had kept one of my Skulkers in the center there to help defend the archers, I think we could have beaten back those Knights of the Blazing Sun, and then maybe I would have been able to, if I had chased off Boris more effectively. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, but nonetheless, I do think that this build has some merit. Again, Empire, because they can go a bit wider, aren't quite as vulnerable to Swarm as, say, like the High Elves, for example. So this isn't quite as effective against them. It's also very effective against the Dwarfs, I've found, just because they tend to be pretty static. And usually, a lot of these units are armor-piercing. They're more so an anti-infantry focus rather than an anti-large focus. Like the Squig Hoppers, for example, do have a true anti-infantry bonus, whereas the Skulkers don't necessarily have a bonus either way. But if you ask me, they're a little bit more meant for fighting infantry, although if you can, get them in on cav and use the smoke bomb to slow them down, I mean, that is certainly a very, very useful trait and is one of the tools that you have for dealing with those large units. But of course, you have to keep your Skulkers relatively safe. They will take a lot of shock damage. They don't have any kind of charge defense or anything like that. They have relatively low melee defense and armor as well, so getting them charged is definitely not great. And that's kind of the issue, is you don't have any anti-large, proper anti-large or charge defense units when going the full Vanguard, which, I mean, it makes sense. You're supposed to be very aggressively focused, so might as well just run in there. Also, I didn't get the Fanatics off as well. There wasn't as many good opportunities in this battle, just because my opponent did a better job of deploying and issuing his orders and stuff, so he didn't get blobbed up nearly as much in this particular battle. So I didn't have as many opportunities to use the Fanatics, but still, using it in certain situations still can be pretty useful. But anyway, fun stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.